Chapter 7 of The American. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The American by Henry James. Chapter 7. One evening, very late, about a week after his visit to Madame de Cintré, Newman's servant brought him a card. It was that of young Monsieur de Bellegarde. When, a few moments later, he went to receive his visitor, he found him standing in the middle of his great gilded parlor and eyeing it from cornice to carpet. Monsieur de Bellegarde's face, it seemed to Newman, expressed a sense of lively entertainment. What the devil is he laughing at now? Our hero asked himself. But he put the question without acrimony, for he felt that Madame de Cintré's brother was a good fellow, and he had a presentiment that on this basis of good fellowship they were destined to understand each other. Only, if there was anything to laugh at, he wished to have a glimpse of it too. "To begin with," said the young man as he extended his hand, "have I come too late?" "Too late for what?" asked Newman. "To smoke a cigar with you." "You would have to come early to do that," said Newman. "I don't smoke." "Ah, you are a strong man." "But I keep cigars," Newman added. "Sit down." "Surely I may not smoke here," said Monsieur de Bellegarde. "What is the matter? Is the room too small?" "It is too large. It is like smoking in a ballroom or a church." "That is what you were laughing at just now?" Newman asked. "The size of my room?" "It is not size only," replied Monsieur de Bellegarde, "but splendor and harmony and beauty of detail. It was the smile of admiration." Newman looked at him a moment, and then, "So it is very ugly?" he inquired. "Ugly, my dear sir? It is magnificent." "That is the same thing, I suppose," said Newman. "Make yourself comfortable. Your coming to see me, I take it, is an act of friendship. You were not obliged to. Therefore, if anything around here amuses you, it will all be in a pleasant way. Laugh as loud as you please. I like to see my visitors cheerful. Only I must make this request, that you explain the joke to me as soon as you can speak. I don't want to lose anything myself." Monsieur de Bellegarde stared, with a look of unresentful perplexity. He laid his hand on Newman's sleeve and seemed on the point of saying something, but he suddenly checked himself, leaned back in his chair, and puffed at his cigar. At last, however, breaking silence, "Certainly," he said, "my coming to see you is an act of friendship. Nevertheless, I was in a measure obliged to do so. My sister asked me to come, and a request from my sister is, for me, a law. I was near you, and I observed lights in what I supposed were your rooms. It was not a ceremonious hour for making a call, but I was not sorry to do something that would show I was not performing a mere ceremony." "Well, here I am, as large as life," said Newman, extending his legs. "I don't know what you mean," the young man went on, "by giving me unlimited leave to laugh. Certainly I am a great laugher, and it is better to laugh too much than too little. But it is not in order that we may laugh together, or separately, that I have, I may say, sought your acquaintance. To speak with almost impudent frankness, you interest me." All this was uttered by Monsieur de Bellegarde with the modulated smoothness of the man of the world, and in spite of his excellent English, of the Frenchman. But Newman, at the same time that he sat noting its harmonious flow, perceived that it was not mere mechanical urbanity. Decidedly, there was something in his visitor that he liked. Monsieur de Bellegarde was a foreigner to his fingertips, and if Newman had met him on a western prairie he would have felt it proper to address him with a "How d'ye do, Moosseer?" But there was something in his physiognomy which seemed to cast a sort of aerial bridge over the impassable gulf produced by difference of race. He was below the middle height, and robust and agile in figure. Valentin de Bellegarde, Newman afterwards learned, had a mortal dread of the robustness overtaking the agility. He was afraid of growing stout. He was too short, as he said, to afford a belly. He rode and fenced and practiced gymnastics with unremitting zeal, and if you greeted him with a "How well you are looking!" he started and turned pale. In your "well" he read a grosser monosyllable. He had a round head, high above the ears, a crop of hair at once dense and silky, a broad, low forehead, a short nose, of the ironical and inquiring rather than of the dogmatic or sensitive cast, and a moustache as delicate as that of a page in a romance. He resembled his sister not in feature, but in the expression of his clear bright eye, completely void of introspection, and in the way he smiled. The great point in his face was that it was intensely alive, frankly, ardently, gallantly alive. The look of it was like a bell, of which the handle might have been in the young man's soul. At a touch of the handle it rang with a loud silver sound. There was something in his quick, light brown eye which assured you that he was not economizing his consciousness. He was not living in a corner of it to spare the furniture of the rest. He was squarely encamped in the center, and he was keeping open house. When he smiled it was like the movement of a person who in emptying a cup turns it upside down. He gave you the last drop of his jollity. He inspired Newman with something of the same kindness that our hero used to feel in his earlier years for those of his companions who could perform strange and clever tricks, making their joints crack in queer places, or whistle at the back of their mouths. "My sister told me," M. de Bellegarde continued, "that I ought to come and remove the impression that I had taken such great pains to produce upon you, the impression that I am a lunatic. Did it strike you that I behaved very oddly the other day?" "Rather so," said Newman. "So my sister tells me." And M. de Bellegarde watched his host for a moment through his smoke wreaths. "If that is the case, I think we had better let it stand. I didn't try to make you think I was a lunatic, after all. On the contrary, I wanted to produce a favorable impression. But if, after all, I made a fool of myself, it was the intention of Providence. I should injure myself by protesting too much, for I should seem to set up a claim for wisdom which in the sequel of our acquaintance I could by no means justify. Set me down as a lunatic with intervals of sanity." "Oh, I guess you know what you are about," said Newman. "When I am sane, I am very sane. That I admit," M. de Bellegarde answered. "But I didn't come here to talk about myself. I should like to ask you a few questions. You allow me?" "Give me a specimen," said Newman. "You live here all alone?" "Absolutely. With whom should I live?" "For the moment," said M. de Bellegarde with a smile, "I am asking questions, not answering them. You have come to Paris for your pleasure?" Newman was silent a while. Then, at last, "Everyone asks me that," he said with his mild slowness. "It sounds so awfully foolish." "But at any rate you had a reason." "Oh, I came for my pleasure," said Newman. "Though it is foolish, it is true." "And you are enjoying it?" Like any other good American, Newman thought it as well not to truckle to the foreigner. "Oh, so," he answered. M. de Bellegarde puffed his cigar again in silence. "For myself," he said at last, "I am entirely at your service. Anything I can do for you I shall be very happy to do. Call upon me at your convenience. Is there anyone you desire to know? Anything you wish to see? It is a pity you should not enjoy Paris." "Oh, I do enjoy it," said Newman good naturedly. "I'm much obligated to you." "Honestly speaking," M. de Bellegarde went on, "there is something absurd to me in hearing myself make you these offers. They represent a great deal of goodwill, but they represent little else. You are a successful man, and I am a failure, and it's a turning of the tables to talk as if I could lend you a hand." "In what way are you a failure?" asked Newman. "Oh, I'm not a tragical failure!" cried the young man with a laugh. "I have fallen from a height, and my fiasco has made no noise. You, evidently, are a success. You have made a fortune, you have built up an edifice, you are a financial, commercial power. You can travel about the world until you have found a soft spot, and lie down in it with the consciousness of having earned your rest. Is not that true? Well, imagine the exact reverse of all that, and you have me. I have done nothing, I can do nothing." "Why not?" "It's a long story. Some day I will tell you. Meanwhile I'm right, eh? You are a success? You have made a fortune? It's none of my business, but in short, you are rich?" "That's another thing that it sounds foolish to say," said Newman. "Hang it, no man is rich." I have heard philosophers affirm," laughed